Good evening. It's Wednesday. It's time for another episode of Brap. For those who don't know what Brap stands for Basement Radio OK Podcast, but we go by Brap. With me, I have the one and only, the great Lee Hampton, or Hamp, as we call him. What's up, Hamp?
That's Brap appearing on the Truth Network.
Yes, this is the Truth Network, by the way. If you are a seeker of truth and you're tired of the tomfoolery, the sensationalism of gaming YouTube, gaming Twitter, you have come to the right place because, frankly, we're here to drain the swamp. And if you're a real gamer, you've come to the right place as well. Anyhow. What was I going to say? I forgot what I was going to say now. So we got, someone says facts, Brap. Thank you. Actually, you know what? I need to do something here. I'm going to drop a link in the live chat. Please do me a favor. Retweet the link. And also, actually, you know what? I forgot to do something also. I forgot to put the link in other Discord channels. Let everyone know we've gone live. So let me do that real quick. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about. We have some actually big news in terms of former PlayStation executives going to other organizations. We'll talk about that. And then Nvidia had their big reveal. And some of the reaction about with that has been kind of interesting. I think some of it's, I don't know. Hamp, I'm at a point, I just don't care anymore. Like, shit gets announced. I'm like, okay, am I interested in it? I'm not. Okay, I'll move on. Right? Like, I'm not doing mental gymnastics. I'm not overthinking things. I just say, hey, do I want this? And if I don't want it, I move on. It's like.
But Brap, it's a miss. It's a miss.
It is a miss. I learned that today. Apparently, apparently DLSS 3.0 is a miss. Okay. It's not going to stop me from buying a 40 series if I want one. It's not going to stop majority of the people from buying one and enjoying it, I guess. I don't know. I just, I've gotten to the point now where when things come out, things are announced, price points. I just kind of shrug my shoulders and say, hey, am I interested in that? Yes. And if I'm not, I just move on. If I feel like something's overpriced, I go to the competitor. It's like when I go down the grocery aisle, and for that week, Coca-Cola, a 12-pack's $8. Pepsi, $6. I'm still going to go with the Coke at $8, even though it was cheaper the week before. Why? Because I prefer Coke over Pepsi. I don't know. Call me crazy.
And this was mostly about, just because I'm sure we're going to get comments about if it sounds like we're harping once again on people should be either willing to pay prices or not willing to pay prices. This was more about kind of like the PSVR 1, PSVR 2 conversation in some ways. This was a conversation about the fact that as far as we are being told right now, that DLSS 3.0 is not is restricted and hardware constrained to the new 4000 series cards based on the need for fourth generation tensor cores and the OAF, which I forget what the acronym stands for, but the acceleration method technology that it's on the 4000 series cards.
Exactly. So, but anyhow, so we'll talk about Nvidia, and then we got some other gaming related news. We're going to talk about LG. Wait a minute. Hold on, I got to get the official chime. Where's the chime? Come on, where's that little? I'm waiting for a little pop up from Streamlabs. Come on. Where's my notification of a super chat?
Yeah, the alert. Yeah, I've never been able to get alerts to work on YouTube, but
I mean, it does work, and it's not working right now. But okay, all right. So guess who gave us a super chat, Hamp?
Mr. Worldwide himself, Mr. Bo Country.
Borbor Country, the best name in the YouTubes, with a $5 super chat. Says, so the 4090 is useless, like the 3090. Oh, there. Here we go with the notification. By the way, it just popped up. So the 4090 is useless, like the 3090. No games take advantage of their yearly releases. So what are you getting? PC gamers are compensating for. Thank you for that super chat, Bobor. I appreciate it. I've always thought the 4090 for gaming is overkill, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know that I would disagree, and I see the point that unless and this was kind of the point, right? Until games roll out that integrate DLSS 3.0, right, the SDK, and make those API calls, then I don't know what anybody would need a 4090 for. But of course, as we talked about earlier in this week, right, the demographic of PC gamers, right, one group of them, right, and I'm in that group. We set a point on a timeline for recapitalization of our components, right? And that's when we go buy those parts. And it doesn't matter whether there's a game out for them or not. It's a matter of future-proofing. It's a matter of constantly keeping your specs up to date. And eventually some game will come along that will take advantage of it, right? Is the hope and the plan. But like, I don't, there's another part of the demographic that like, when game X comes out, right, that's where they're going to get their card. Or, so-and-so game is coming out, right? And so I'm going to get my card a couple of months before. There are some, but a bunch of gamers just keep their rigs up to date relatively and buy at a certain price point, or buy when they've depreciated enough value out of, their last card, whatever their ROI point is. But so, some people are going to go buy the 4090. Some very small number of people are going to go buy the 4090, right? Regardless of whether or not there's a game that's hit the market with DLSS 3.0 integrated yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also want to introduce the one and only, the man. Look, if you're not listening to this individual when he speaks, you need to. He is accurately predicted lotto numbers and PlayStation 5's roadmap. We got B Money 101. What's up, B?
What's going on, fellas?
Not much, man. Maybe you haven't predicted lotto numbers correctly, but the other stuff is true.
yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, so so we're gonna get to the what's it called stuff later on, the Nvidia stuff, but do have some other news that I want to get into quickly here. Actually, I don't know if you guys saw this or if you saw this, B, but Shuei Yoshida is in the news. He actually was interviewed at the at GI Live in London. I believe this was actually today, if I'm not mistaken. And he was talking about Sony's approach to its revamped PlayStation Plus service. B, are you in the PlayStation Plus service, like the high end tier? I don't remember, man.
I was in the high end tier, but I PlayStation Now lapsed or whatever, so I'm in the extra tier now.
You're the extra tier. What's the one where if you had both PlayStation Now, PlayStation Plus, is that like I forget what tier that is?
Yeah, so that's the highest tier. If you have both of them at
Okay.
the same time, yeah, that's the highest tier.
Is that like the Plus Extra or something it's called, I think? There's so many damn tiers, I don't remember.
It's premium.
Premium. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. All right. So he's talking about, he was discussing Sony's revamped approach to the PlayStation Plus service, in particular its top tier extra.
Hey, just before you continue, I just want to so look at the Xbox guy over here who knows the terminology for all the different PlayStation Plus tiers, but I'm not saying anything.
Oh man! Oh wow! Okay. All right, Hamp. Easy there, buddy. Easy there.
I'll hold off on the cheese. I'll let you finish.
All right. So the Xbox guy. Jeez. You may get a lot of props for that in the comment section later. Hamp's the man.
I gotta grease my palm every chance I get.
Yeah. All right. So Shuei Yoshida says, unlike Microsoft's approach with its Game Pass service, where most first-party Xbox titles come out day and date on the subscription service, Sony still believes in the premium release of a title launch. He went on to say that PlayStation Plus, PS Plus has tiers. Essentially, it's like the old PlayStation Plus, where we still release 2 or 3 games every month, and a new tier Extra has a catalog of hundreds of games for people to play. For Extra, our approach is we like to help the publishers with lifecycle management. And he goes on to say, I was managing first party at PlayStation, so I know that it's like in the movies. A movie comes out at the theater first, then goes to pay-per-view or subscription service or free TV, every time generating new revenue and reaching out to a broader audience. He then goes on to say, in the same kind of way, we believe in the premium release of a title at launch and we can all assume premium release being AAA games. We believe in the premium release of a title at launch and after maybe 6 months or 3 months or 3 years when the game sales come down. Inclusion into the when the game sales, I can't even read today. When the game sales come down, inclusion into this service, PlayStation Plus Extra, can help introduce these games to new, broader audiences. Some people might have missed these games when they come out, and it's a great chance to play and generate word of mouth. Or if there's DLC or a sequel going, we can help elevate interest to a broader audience about the franchise. So we're encouraging publishers to make, I really can't read today. So we're encouraging publishers to make use of these services in managing the life cycle of each title. All right, so that's a quick snippet of what Yoshida had to say today. B, any thoughts? What are your thoughts on this, B Money?
Actually, I didn't even know that this interview took place, but it kind of aligns with what their strategy is. You know what I mean? They've always said that they didn't want to release their first party stuff their day and date, and you know what I mean, it doesn't seem like they're running out there to get a lot of big name stuff to be on the service day and date. They kind of understand that with being in the entertainment business. You know what I mean, having ability to release licensed products like Spider-Man and things like that. So they kind of understand the cadence of how it's supposed to work out with the premium product. So you can't really fault them for having that attitude, and kind of want to see what that vision is like for them. So I'm good with it. You know what I mean? It's they're marching to the beat of their own drum, and this same cadence that they've been speaking on since the beginning. So can't really be mad about it.
Yeah, that's a great point, B. They've been consistent in that regard with that messaging. Great point about B, like the movie reference there. Obviously, Sony's in movies, television, but it was interesting how he compared big AAA title releases to movie releases and how they kind of generate new revenue streams as they kind of go through those that life cycle, that progression, different tiers. But I want to real quick before I get to the rest of the panel, I want to introduce someone who is Brap alum here. We got the professor himself, Mr. Eric Jackson from South Florida.
My God, EJ.
What is going on, sir?
Man? What's going on? I just thought I'd stop in and see what you guys were talking about. See what kind of knowledge you were dropping tonight.
Yeah, no, absolutely, dude. We so happy to have you, man. And real quick, B, I do want to say though that I do feel that Sony not including games day and date, their AAA first party, is anti-consumer. Just throw that out there.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we all would love to, have this buffet of games of, you know what I mean, the biggest titles releasing into the service day and date. But, not everyone is going to follow, what a particular company is doing. You know what I mean? So, we kind of have to take it as it comes,
Yeah.
And, as a consumer, decide with your wallet.
Absolutely, B. That's kind of where I was going with that.
Back
yeah.
on the day and date thing again.
No, well, I don't know if you heard me. I was reading an article. I don't know how much you heard, but Shuei Ishii was commenting on today on PlayStation's revamped Plus service and kind of their philosophy behind premium games, AAA games. Basically saying that, like, and he used the movie industry as an example of, like with the movies, you get, a theater release, then, you get like pay-per-view, or it goes to a streaming service or free TV. And then each time it goes into a different tier, generates additional revenue. And then it allows that, that movie to get more exposure. So he's saying that's a similar philosophy that they have for the big AAA games.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So okay. What do you think, E? I mean, do you think that's the right philosophy? Is it pro-consumer? Is it pro-gamer?
What? Not going day and date?
Yeah, what are your thoughts about that, though, man? Like what he said about kind of their strategy. Like, do you agree with it? Or do you kind of like what B's saying, hey, it'd be great to get a buffet of all these games or these games day and date, but at the end of the day, that's not the case today, and they don't maybe necessarily have to replicate what their competitors are doing. And as a consumer, if you're not vibing with that, then, you got to vote with your wallet.
No, I agree. I mean, honestly, I agree with B. I mean, if people really stop for a minute and look at like what companies do, they don't reinvent the wheel. They just kind of pick and cherry pick from what other companies are doing. So, and I know in this little sample size space of Twitter, people think, everything has to be like black and white. It's like whatever your platform is doing, people tend to acquiesce to that strategy and think it's the right one, and these companies too, well, let's just say these two, it's not just the two, but let's just, it's usually between Microsoft and Sony in this space. They're just gonna kind of go with the thing that makes sense for them, but whichever one works the best, that's the one that the other one's gonna copy. And I just kind of look at it like this. I know the day and date conversation is very good for YouTuber business. I notice when things are slow, you get these topics that come up like they need to go day and date, or you get the $70 game topic. It's like, you guys in the YouTube space is like, pick something better to go about. When it's slow, you just you jump on these hot button topics that will get people going or whatever. But the bottom line is, it's the markets will dictate what the markets will dictate. So if Sony starts to see that the day and date strategy is working for Microsoft, which we really won't know until their games start to hit, trust me, they'll start to move that direction. But right now they feel like they have a value in their AAA, what they put into it, and it's sort of like that teaser. It's like, if we give it all away, then what's the point? Why buy the cow if you get the milk for free? I guess is this the kind of way to look at it.
Yeah.
So it's just, there is no right or wrong. There's no rule book. There's no dogmatic law on how you go about business. They go with what the market kind of dictates and where they see their the influx of cash coming in. It's not rocket science. It's simple when you really think about it, in terms of that. But again, taking away from the narrative side of it, that's, people don't want to think that way. They want to go with the narratives.
Yeah, no, and that's it's unfortunate. Like, I agree with you, E. There's nothing bound. There's no law that says that this needs to be done this way, or this is the right way, and therefore this company should do it this way. I mean, companies have different approaches, different strategies, and as consumers, we just have to decide which one fits our wallet the best, or or gels with what we want from a particular product. I mean, we do this with every other consumer product. And I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here, but for some reason we treat gaming like it's different from any other consumer product that we consume, or our behavior is different from how we consume other products. Like, it's not. It's the same thing. Price increases go up. Yeah. As a consumer, you say, well, if I either want something enough where I don't care about the price increase, I still see value in that product with said price increase, or I'm like, you know what? No, I'm out. I'm going to take my business elsewhere.
100%. That's just what you have to do as a consumer of anything.
I mean, E, are you upset that Apple's raising prices for apps or whatever the case is?
Raising prices for apps?
Yeah. What was the thing with Apple? I think they're raising. I forgot what it was. Hold on a sec here.
Who the hell knows? Apple, they're always up to something. But that's the thing. Is like, you pick and choose and decide, which what you need and what you want to go with. And what you said is true. Is like, for some reason, and again, we're in a space where people
I'm sorry, E, real quick. Apple to raise App Store prices in multiple countries next month. That's what they're doing. So, now, E, you're here in the U.S. Your Apple brethren in Asia or in Europe are going to be hit by this. Are you upset about this, man? Are you? I mean, I would imagine you're upset, and
I am mad at you now that I know about it. I got to get full rage going.
I mean, look, people.
Now that I know, now that I actually heard the headline, I didn't read the article. I can go off and be pissed.
I mean, hey, look, people trying to put food on the table, man. I mean, I don't know how they're going to do that.
I got time to read this shit. I just got to get mad off this title. Dude, bro. Raise, I don't even know what that means. Raise the price of the app store. Okay, is that gonna make me stop using an iPhone? No.
Yeah. Wow.
Bottom line, but what you said is true. It's like, when it comes to like all different types of consumer products in this space, for whatever reason, gaming is the one that people just want to like pick apart. They want to pick all the meat off the bones, right? And I'll just give the example. And B, you could back me up on this. In the sports realm, when you go to watch a team live, have they lowered the prices on any of that?
Not at all.
No.
In fact,
Do
if
they
you,
give a-
if you
do
want a
they give a
beer,
damn?
you better make sure you went to the ATM. If you
know
want
what
a
I'm
couple
saying?
beers.
Let me
Bro,
tell you something.
fam.
I paid $11 for a 16-ounce can of IPA. I was mad.
Brap, you know I went to the Woo show last night, right?
I don't.
I
Yes.
bought a beer for me and my boy and gave him a tip. You know how much that was?
$25.
Shit. That was $36, dude.
What? $36?
And I'm not talking like 240 ounce beers. I'm talking like 2 16-ounce beers.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Did I stand in front of the concession stand like, you motherfucker? You know? Did I go through a Twitter rant right in front of them? You know, no, it's all right, it is what it is. I'm at the venue, we chilling, it is what it is. I'm thirsty.
Do you ask them how much they were charging people for that beer in Japan?
It was an outrage.
I might argue that beer. I might
how
argue.
people talk so much crap online to each other. They just like dog each other out, but it is like, why aren't you concerned for the consumer? It's like, you just called me a motherfucker, dude. What you talking about?
Right?
You know?
Oh my God! And I tell you, I would argue that beer is probably more of a necessity than a luxury item like a console.
Oh, that
So,
beer. That's the most delicious $15 beer I ever had, bro.
was it an IPA? It better not have been like Bud Light or something, man.
Yeah, it was like some kind of, I don't even know the name, bro.
Okay,
I don't
okay.
even know, but it was good. It was good. I don't know.
I hope it wasn't PBR. We don't do PBR here on the Truth Network.
But the point is, dude, like going to the concert, you know, I looked at the price. I was like, okay, that's decent seats or whatever. Was it something I was like excited to spend that kind of money on? No, but I had a good time. I went, I made a decision, right? Then there may be another concert that comes. I'm like, nah, I like this artist, but I'm not doing that. Why? Because I made a choice. You know, if I want to go see the Heat play, I pay what they asked me to pay, or I try to find the best deal possible. But I'm not. But I know what the price to go see the Heat or the Dolphins is now isn't what it was 5 years ago. You know.
You know, and to punctuate that, I think, because again, I'm sure people are in the chat saying that we're complaining about people complaining again. To follow that up with a bit of advice of like what some of what we're talking about should mean. As a for instance, you know, one of the things that I've said on Twitter is, look, everything is pointing to the prices of electronics going up in 2023. If you have a purchase that you've been holding off on, it might be a good idea for you to make that purchase now. Right? If you're concerned about upgrading something next year, right, because this is the cycle you're going to skip, it might be a better idea to buy now, right, and then hold out and hibernate across 2023 and hope that things are going to get better in 2024. And just as a completely ancillary thing, as I was reading this article right about Apple raising prices in the App Store, one thing that I think people are making a big miss on is, you know, right now, if you're an American, it's a really great time to travel, right? If you've ever traveled abroad and gotten sticker shock when you go into other countries and go to see the exchange rate and go trade your $10 in and get like 3 Krupka back, right? Like, this is a good time to go and travel out of the country where your US dollar is going to buy you more in exercising, you know, your ability to partake in leisure, right, in other countries. And again, I know that's not something everybody's thinking about doing, but for the small number of people who are thinking about, you know, have had a trip on their mind, again, this would be a great time to go.
So Hamp, let me ask you something, man. Eddie, do you have any additional thoughts on Shuei's interview about, you know, Sony's approach to, you know, premium games? Do you have any additional thoughts?
Yeah, I do. You know, in general, like I said, I enjoy like observing the industry, studying the industry. I enjoy seeing the change. I enjoy seeing, you know, the periodic change in the drumbeat, right? And so I have enjoyed, and I've said before, you know, it's a really great time for people who like doing that observation and like doing that study, because you have three console corporations who are, you know, pursuing radically different competitive strategies. at the very detailed level. I think HD Gamer was asking me a comment I made, last week on another podcast that I said at a high level, right? Microsoft and Sony's strategies were the same, and they are. But when you get down to the detailed level, I think they're radically different. The only thing that causes me a bit of concern, what I've mentioned is that my concern about Sony, as somebody who, again, kind of does a lot of these case studies of businesses that have failed to pivot, right, during periods of innovation and periods of change, was that I was very concerned about, Ryan's comments at the beginning of the generation about, we believe in generations and we're going to continue pursuing our strategy and we're going to double down and we're going to pump out the same kind of content is, all of those things from my perspective of having studied businesses, man, that sounds an awful lot like somebody who's really stuck in their ways and is just going to keep plowing ahead and really isn't listening to change. And you look at, recent things like Research in Motion, RIM, right, who used to make the BlackBerry, right, and that was damn sure absolutely what they did. And no matter how many people in their own ranks were, jumping and screaming and yelling at them, right, to pivot and to change. They were just like, nope, people want physical keyboards, people want our security, which isn't necessarily untrue. I love physical keyboards. I would prefer physical keyboards to a capacitive keyboard, right? But they just weren't paying attention. My only concern is, when you mentioned that analogy that he drew right to the movie industry, that just has a tint of sounding like, as they were settling down on this strategy, like they had they went and had a discussion with, Sony Pictures or just other people in the movie industry, right, looking at analogous business models and kind of drawing security from that. And my only concern is that, maybe that's okay, but it also is them kind of repeating a previous business pattern and gaining their confidence from that. And that just causes me a little concern that maybe the aperture isn't sufficiently wide in consideration of the alternatives that they should be pursuing in their business strategy. But at the end of the day, right, I don't want PlayStation Game Pass, right? I want Game Pass to be what it is, and I want Sony's strategy to be whatever it is that they decide on their own.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about that, Ham? And Enrique, you might remember this, and B, you might remember this too.
Yeah.
What was the thing that, again, when people go back and forth over who should be doing what, and I tend to see more so like the quote unquote Xbox guys saying, Sony needs to adopt day and date, right? But at the same time, I remember like some years back when people were like, yo, what's up with, Microsoft's first party? It needs to be this, it needs to be that. What was the first thing Xbox dudes were saying was, well, I don't want them to follow what Sony's doing. I need them to blaze their own trail and do their own thing. Right? And it's like, yeah, that's what you want. You don't, like Ham said, you don't want them to be carbon copies of each other, because what's the fun in that? What's the point of that? It's like, yeah, they may adopt and pick some things that are smart business or smart things to do, but yeah, do you really want that carbon copy? Or is it just more about the talking point of the list? Mm-hmm. It's like, I want it because it's good to give me ammo. Yeah. In the space. And I'm like, no, I like the fact that you don't necessarily know what the pivot is going to be or what the direction is going to be. I like seeing, while I don't necessarily, some of the acquisition consolidation points of it make me a little nervous on some things from all these different companies. I kind of like the idea that Microsoft is rethinking kind of how they want to go about some stuff. Whether you like Game Pass or not, that's their strategy. What that's going to mean, what that will entail, time will tell. It's the same thing. It's like right now, Sony doesn't think they need to go day and date. Maybe they will have to. We don't know. But the fact is, competition breeds strategy. Strategy is interesting. It's intriguing. This is one of the most intriguing times in the industry that we've seen in a while.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and that's what I think a lot of people get twisted, kind of get it backwards. Like, even you guys flip me guff right periodically for saying, why do you own an Xbox, right? And the thing is
why do you with all those battle stations?
The thing is, the day that they do start carbon copying each other, that is absolutely the day where you don't need to own both, right? For whatever value worth people put on title exclusivity, whatever. But the day that they're like really following very similar paths and like not doing anything different, right? There's a reason why we harp on the notion of product differentiation, right, in the product space. And why it makes a difference when you talk about product design and product pricing and business models and yada, yada, yada. So, and right now they're all doing something different, and that Xbox presents a different value proposition to me than the PlayStation 5. Full on, totally open to the argument that one of those value propositions is mathematically, less or more than the other. That's an argument people can have. But my point is that they're different, right? And the fact that there's a delta is the thing that makes it interesting to me and makes it worthwhile to own both.
Yeah, that's a great point, Hamp. And actually, like to your point, E2, and that's kind of what I really love about where we are at the industry, because for those of us who have been gaming for a long time, it was very much, it was the same everywhere. You didn't have the options that we have today. We have so many options now, and I feel like that gets lost in the back and forth, the console wars, and all the nonsense in gaming Twitter. Like people don't people maybe don't appreciate because they don't know, they didn't game 30 years ago, so they didn't live through that the way we did. But I think that's something to be celebrated right now, that you have 3 companies in the console space that are doing things a little bit different. Nintendo's kind of doing things a little bit differently. Sony's doing things a little bit differently. Microsoft doing things differently. I think those are viable options for the consumers, and I think that's something. And they're different options, and different isn't always bad per se. And I think that's something that needs to be celebrated or talked about.
But the one constant between all of them is the fact that none of them are allergic to money and trying to get yours from you by any means necessary, and whichever happens. That's the thing that people don't seem to understand. It's not about caring and love, and we're going to take care of you and make sure. And I asked this question on Twitter, and people got upset about it. I was literally just asking the question because that's kind of where my head goes. It's like, even presenting like a consumer friendly front from any company it's a strategy. And it's a way to go. It's definitely a great way to go. It's the best way to go is to come off as consumer friendly and try to do the most you can to make sure somebody's experience is the right one. But it doesn't mean that's in perpetuity forever. You're usually one shift away from not being seen that way, right? So as I say, I tell people to be very skeptical and careful about a lot of the consolidation and things like that, because we've seen time and again when companies feel that they hold the cards, they act a certain way. I mean, Sony's messaging right now is really jacked up, and people say, "Well, is that arrogant Sony returning?" Well, I don't know. It just seems like they're tripping over their own dick a lot. Microsoft went through the same thing, and that's why I said, only thing you can trust with companies is that they're gonna fuck up sometime. They will find a way to screw it up.
Yeah.
And do something that you don't feel is right. So stop this thing, or where it's like, I have all this faith, and in particular, people kind of look at, let's use Phil for an example. It's like, well, Phil's a gamer, so he understands that. Yeah, that's true. Phil is a gamer, but Phil has self-preservation too, to where I'm pretty sure for what Phil does in his life is a busy job. It's a hectic job, but Phil has probably a pretty good, comfortable life and a good salary, and probably wants to hold on to that and make shareholders happy and be able to retire and be comfortable. So there's a sense of self-preservation that comes with that. Jim is considered to be like a shrewd businessman, but at the end of the day, none of us really know these guys personally what they are. They're just a perception of what they are based on what people have built them up to be. So it's just, the only constant, like I said, is they all want to make money, however they have to do it. So don't fall into this trap of, well, Game Pass is the future, so Sony should absolutely be going day and date. No, the minute Microsoft can prove that means something is the day you see Sony make a shift. They haven't proved it yet, right? And don't think that Microsoft wouldn't want to sell $70 games. What do they have in their library that they can sell you for $70 that you'd be comfortable spending it on? In their library right now. They can't do that because they don't have anything to throw at you to say, if they threw it like Halo Infinite, which I think they did initially. It was like, what, $60 like retail or whatever?
It was 60, yeah.
It wasn't fully on the disc. But it was in Game Pass, so that was like the play. But at the same time, if they have games that people see as value and they're hitting these 90 metas, which are so important to people, they may try you with a $70 game or a $70 collector, whatever the case may be, because there are people who still want that kind of stuff.
Right, but also notice.
Hamp.
Yeah.
Here, I'm sorry. Let me just grab the super chat real quick, because I don't want to forget the super chat here from Doomsayer Network with the $2 super chat. Says, shout out to Lee Hampton. What a great guest. There you go, Hamp.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that too. I do just want to highlight, right, just to make sure there's truth in advertising. At this point, I am not a guest. I am a regular member, co-host of the panel.
Yes, that is true. Okay, Hamp is a regular panel member.
I've been promoted, and I don't intend to let that go unnoticed.
Well said.
But also a thing about Phil, right, is also note that while Microsoft might not be charging $70 for a game, they have said nothing that would dissuade any third-party publisher from making their game $70, putting them in the Microsoft store, and taking their whatever their cut is now. I think they reduced it from the 30%, so I don't know, 18, 22%, whatever their cut is now, right? And that's, again, that accrues revenue. So, they're still going down that vector as well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right, real quick, gentlemen, I do want to move on to the next topic here. So I don't know. First of all, I don't know what this gentleman was thinking, but we now know who the real insider is. Dan Allen Gaming has been outed as the real insider. He basically outed himself. Has since taken down his Twitter account. He's a big YouTuber, for those who don't know. So yeah, he's the YouTuber that, or he was the quote unquote the real insider who shared some of the details of the Assassin's Creed games and other leaks as well. And so he has made basically apology. He said, "Hey, I'm sorry for everyone for my actions. I'm ashamed and disappointed in myself. I'll be taking some time to reflect on my poor decisions, which will never occur again. To everyone who supported me over the years, I'm truly sorry I let you down." So look, my quick take, I appreciate the apology, but then I'm always one, I feel like if you were sorry about something, you may not be, you're violating NDAs, things like that. Maybe information that was given to you, breaking confidentiality, things like that. You're doing that. Yeah. There's some ethical issues there. Are you really sorry? You're just sorry that you got caught. That's just my take on that. Go to you real quick, E. I don't know if you were up to speed on this story. Did you hear about this?
Oh yeah. Yesterday I was catching up on it a bit. Didn't look into all the details of it, but on the surface it was like, yeesh.
Yeah, no, definitely.
That cloud chase is a dangerous thing, man.
Yeah, no, yeah, right. Cloud chasing. There you go.
Ultimately, what a lot of that stuff comes down to, man. I mean, it's a cloud chase world, man, and people just, is it worth it? And the thing is, it's like, yeah, the apology is great, but are you sorry you did it? Or are you sorry you got caught? Because who else was sorry when they got caught? Philip Mewson, when he was plagiarizing.
Yeah. When he was taking people's reviews.
Oh yeah,
yeah, man.
he was doing like Nintendo reviews too, right?
Yeah.
Jesus, that was a little impressive.
Was a wild boy, man. Wild boy.
Yeah,
and he did apologize when he got caught.
Yeah, apologized, got caught, but still came out like an asshole later on some other stuff.
Yeah.
So he didn't really learn the lesson. Like I remember hearing him in an interview with Colin Moriarty. He was in a way still kind of blaming people.
I remember that. Yeah.
Like,
it's like, dude, stop.
Yeah. So yeah, man, hey, can he bounce back? I don't know. Does anybody? I don't know, man. That's wild.
Yeah, he's got a pretty large following on YouTube, man. I mean, he probably could, I guess. People have certainly done worse on social media, and
is he platform specific? Because if you're platform specific, you get forgiveness for everything unless you switch platform.
I mean, look, man. Here's the thing,
right? He has a big podcast that is mostly PlayStation specific.
Oh, they'll forgive him.
Yeah. I mean, look, guys.
That's the one thing I noticed, like in these spaces, like you can be sexist, racist. You can be like a creep. You can go into DMs trying to chase married women. You can be damn near pedophile or whatever, and they'll forgive you. But you switch platforms, that's your ass.
Yeah, that's true.
That's so true, man.
That's the scary part of this space, man. It's crazy. I've seen it time and again, man. People
are
like, man. He didn't mean it. He apologized. That's how he used to be. He used to be that way. He's not that way now.
He didn't.
Platform, you can't come back, dog. Get out of here. You a scumbag.
You know what, man? All jokes aside, man, me, you, and B. I was having this discussion with Hamp earlier about how gaming Twitter used to be different. 8 years ago when we were on, And you're right, man. Like we've seen that throughout the 8 years we've been on gaming Twitter, where that's actually really the case. You could do some foul shit, you'll get a pass, but don't switch from Xbox to PlayStation or vice versa, because then you'll be outed.
It's a wrap for you at that point, man.
Yeah, it's true, man. Look, everyone in the live chat, we're not joking. If you're new to gaming Twitter, we're not joking. Like,
no, I'm dead serious, man. I've seen people like some of the biggest scumbags in the world, just people like glance over it. And then they switch a platform and it's done.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's wild. It's definitely wild. And yeah, it's really weird how people are loyal to a point where they'll to a plastic box where they'll just, sidestep, things that actually should matter, that that really impact people. They just sidestep that stuff for the sake of a quote unquote community, I guess. Anyhow.
Yep.
Yeah. Hamp, what are your thoughts, man? As a content creator, former journalist. I don't know if are you still writing? By the way, I don't know if I should say former. I don't know if you're still doing work.
No, not for any sites on a paid gig. Just periodically on my own blog, which is in ill repair and neglect for right now. But when just before I do answer just a question, so the person that you mentioned, the guy who was busted for plagiarizing for Nintendo reviews at IGN, when you said he was blaming people, was he blaming his own management at IGN, or was he blaming readers?
Yeah, if I remember, If I remember correctly, it was more so like sort of like the management at like IGN and stuff like that. Not giving like guidance and things like that, or what basically like what the rules should be, stuff like that.
Okay, gotcha. Because where this topic comes up, I mean, first of all, I think I mentioned, I can't remember on a rant or on a show, like this person essentially committed, I mean, not a crime. That was my GTA 6 reference. But this is a person who, broke, right, contractual agreements and whatnot. So clearly a bad person, and clearly a person who, as many of the times the case, people who have a certain bend to their dialogue on Twitter, it's because they're trying to shore up for, insecurities and thereby win a popularity contest and yada, yada, yada. But I do want to mention that from my own perspective, right, I also don't want to let the audience off the hook. Right, because this is a person who did what they did because there's a market for it, right? Because gamer Twitter is largely, right, thirsty for reality TV, and we grab and scrap and climb the wall for every single little scrap and morsel of any notion of news. We give huge credence to leaks, right, rather than focusing on the games that are out now. We constantly excoriate games, right, for their previews that are games that are still in production pipeline, that aren't due to come out for a year or more, right? And we constantly rake them over the coals, right, when they come out. And so that type of kind of, Coliseum kind of mob mentality, right? Us, yelling and cheering for the lions coming out of the den to eat the criminals, right, during halftime show at the Gladiator games. That type of mentality is what breeds and allows a thing like this to both happen and a person to be motivated to do it, right? And so that's not, right, I say those things not to say that people should take blame, but I'm simply, as I often try to do, I'm simply acknowledging that is and is, right? If you want to deny that that's a current dynamic, I don't know. That's a person. I don't know that that's a person facing sufficient realism to be worthwhile for me to have a conversation with. That is, part of the dynamic, and that's why people do it, right? Which is still, also why, you see the behavior on a lot of YouTube channels that you typically do as well.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Hamp. I mean, and I think the craving of that information, like you said, the leaks and things like that. The sensationalism, all those things, I mean, kind of factors into to some of these things. So, real quick, Hamp, guess you gave us another super chat.
Like I don't have another grand announcement in the barrel for him, so I'll just acknowledge him again as Mr. Worldwide, Mr. Boar Country.
Bulbar Country with the $5 super chat says, still waiting to see an Xbox game on the quality of MotorStorm launch PlayStation 3. Jesus. With that, why is Hamp a bot? Bulbar wants to know why you're a bot. Hamp?
I'm not gonna acknowledge or answer that question. First of all, because that's a false equivalency, right? I've said that Xbox is my preferred platform, but you don't hear me up here. I mean, at least I'll claim that you don't hear me up here rah-rahing and pom-pomming for the green, right? I've said on this podcast, and I'll say it again, I personally prefer Xbox because of the specific type of user that I am and the specific background that I have in tech. But I'm not going to sit up here on the panel and tell you again that, you know, the PlayStation platform has not successfully outsold the Xbox platform 2 generations out of 3. And then the third one where they walked them down after Microsoft had a 1-year head start, right, to end that console generation at relative parity, right? So, you know, constantly gets more typically revenue in their gaming division, right, during earnings reports year after year. So again, I'm not going to tell you that PlayStation doesn't outsell Xbox, right? But I'm also going to tell you that doesn't mean that I'm not going to do what I want to do, and that and that I don't make my own decisions, and I don't think as an individual. I don't do things because the crowd does them. I do what I want to do.
That's where people lose their way, man. It's like, you know, you can have a preference and still have a mind about it, you know?
Right.
That's
like
a great point.
They feel like if you have a preference, you have to like acquiesce and you have to follow everybody else, and you can't step out of line, or you can't come back. Because Hamp, you talk that shit, you can't come back. You know that, right?
Yeah, I'm
that's what they say.
I'm fine with it. Look, if
you step outside the box, you can't come back, man.
Look, in the day that PlayStation does something that resonates with me more from a technology standpoint, then I'll say that PlayStation is my preferred platform. Right now, you know, one change that I did make this generation is I have historically always preferred the Xbox controller and its physical arrangement over PlayStation. Right, I just prefer the offset analog sticks. I do not like that side to side arrangement. It causes me personal problems, particularly when you're playing a game where the analog stick motion and camera movement cause you to move the sticks towards each other, and I get to points where, you know, my thumbs hit against each other. However, the DualSense controller, right, is the first time that I have preferred a PlayStation controller over, right, the Xbox controller. I still love my Xbox controllers, but, you know, this is a point where I feel like the Sony implementation is you know, arguably in my mind better, right, than the analogous Xbox controller.
Are you saying that Xbox actually has something better than PlayStation?
No, I just said PlayStation has something better than Xbox.
Oh, I thought you said that the controller was better, that you like the stance put of the controller on Xbox now.
In general, I do prefer that physical arrangement, but the specific implementation of the DualSense controller is the first time that if I put that generation's controller against the current generation controller of the Xbox, I prefer the PlayStation one. I will also say that the
PlayStation generation of a controller is a completely new controller compared to Xbox.
Yeah. Well, compared to their own controllers, right? I mean, the PlayStation controller has essentially been the same controller since the PlayStation 1, right? Minus some very minor implementations. Let me also say it's a controller that just, for me being a person with larger hands, right, is a controller that I typically find, right, smaller than my personal liking. But again, that's an instance where I'm an adult. I'm capable of making a critical decision about the things that are most suited for meeting my own requirements, while at the same time I can acknowledge the sales power, right, of the PlayStation platform and its general uptake with the, you know, the gaming consumer market.
I just like the way you explain things. That's all. Go ahead.
What's up, Forte?
What is up, gentlemen?
Forte.
Wait, hold on. Is this like old Brap in the building?
Old Brap.
Old Brap in the building?
Yes,
Where the hell Slow my way? I'm gonna have to call him. He probably done fell asleep somewhere in some ditch.
Why's he got to be in a ditch? Why can't he be in his bed?
Old wino.
He probably, he got ankle
Oh,
problems.
wino.
He got ankle problems, so he probably fell down some stairs or something.
Damn.
Trip
Oh,
walking
ankle
up.
problems.
You know, someone got ankle problems.
I never knew that.
Is that Forte? Is that because you broke his ankles with him trying to keep up with your intellect on the last episode of GPS?
I sit in Slow-Mo's backpack every day.
Oh man! Wow, Forte, you're being messy, sir.
Listen, man. Slow-mo's a very smart, intellectual person. I will always bow and put myself inside of his backpack whenever he speaks.
Oh my goodness! All right, let's.
Yeah.
You like that Casey gif I sent you this morning, Forte?
No, not really. You were soliciting me in a very unflattering way.
Soliciting. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's go. Great to see you, by the way, Forte. Let's get to another news item here. We have the Logitech G Cloud gaming handheld, which will be arriving next month. $350 US, $400 Canadian. It is so it's basically a streaming device where you can stream games at 1080p up to 60 frames per second on a 7-inch 450 nit touchscreen.
Who the hell is this for?
Well, we're gonna get to that here in a second, Forte. And I try to have this conversation with Slow-Mo earlier. Maybe that's why he's not here.
I hope he wasn't arguing in fact for this.
Well, I'll tell you what we were discussing. The handheld has I can't even talk. The handheld, which has a customized Android tablet housed inside the controller unit, offers haptic feedback, gyroscope controllers, and remappable buttons. Has D-pad, face buttons, dual thumbsticks, bumpers, triggers, along with the option buttons on both sides. And let's see here. I think that's pretty much the gist of it.
Unfortunately, it doesn't sound like it can play Game Pass, so it's broken already.
What'd you say?
So, can it play Game Pass? That's all I need to know.
Yeah, it runs the full-blown version of Android, so it can do anything.
This might be the thing that they needed.
Yeah, and Logitech and Tencent built this device together. They collaborated with Microsoft and Nvidia to ensure there's native support for xCloud gaming and GeForce Now. So those are the two things that you can use, those apps. And you'll be able to use a Steam Link app to play games from your PC remotely as well. So you should be able to do those things. And so $350. I basically said, Forte, to answer your question about my conversation with Slow-Mo, that I thought this was going to be a hard sell because many people can already access the Xbox Game Pass app, and Phil Spencer was out there touting it today. So was
going hard on that thing.
Yeah,
man.
Phil was aroused. So was Aaron Greenberg. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I think it makes sense for them to kind of hype this thing up because it has Game Pass on it. We know we know their plans for Game Pass. But my point to
Nintendo Switch, if they could get it on there.
Yeah, right. My point to Slow-Mo was that I just think it's a hard sell because you already have devices that you can access Game Pass on already, mobile devices. People have this already in their hands.
What will those devices be, Enrique? Give us the
I need to hear this. What is that?
Phones, smartphones, tablets.
But what if, Enrique? What if you don't want to use your phone because you don't want to have it interrupted with messages and text and phone calls and things like that? You just want to have a separate, dedicated device.
You still asking the wrong question.
Your library.
You still asking the wrong question. What happens if people don't want to use freaking touch controls on their phone?
Once you get
then you buy a Razer Kishi and pair with your phone.
Well, that's extra cost.
Or backbone, whatever you call it. What is it, jawbone?
Yeah, but it's less than $299.99 asking price for the Logitech G Cloud.
Yeah, okay, whatever. That sounds okay. I can't.
I'm gonna stand for the Logitech. I'm gonna get out there. I'm gonna get ahead of this thing.
You know, when he said Logitech, I thought he was gonna talk about the amazing microphone that they just released today. That's really, really good. That's what I thought he was going to talk about. But,
no. And my point was, it's a hard sell, but it's not an impossible. He thought that I said no one will buy this. I didn't say that.
Are you going to buy it,
Enrique?
No.
Enrique, I'm telling you now, we should be the ones to lead the charge. We should stand for the Logitech.
I know. Let's do it.
No, I look. If
everybody who goes against it,
when I use Game Pass, I either play it with the controller and my smartphone, or I use my tablet.
Do you have a backbone?
You don't have a backbone?
But what?
You don't have a backbone?
No.
Oh man, the backbone. That's
Not-
probably the best controller you could have for your phone.
No, I
You're
don't
not
have
allowed
one.
to retail.
No,
You-
I have a
you're not a real
I use the
cloud
I use the Xbox controller, and I have the little thing where you can just slide your phone into it.
Yeah, well, you can clamp it to. Yeah,
You
that's the
clamp it,
thing
yeah.
I use too.
That's what I have.
Oh, you
yeah.
talking about the
Nah, y'all not
thing
about
they?
it. Y'all not about that cloud life, man. Y'all free.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, to Forte's thing about like that's extra cost, right? That's a much lower cost, right, way to approach it than going out and get the additional Razer controller, if that's a concern of a consumer.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, but what? Yeah, but we like to. We're gamers. We like to spend money on unnecessary things.
What about little Jimmy and Grandma?
Oh boy! Wow.
Well, to take I don't know, to fall somewhere in between, right? Brap and Slow Mo. Right, what I mentioned earlier in the chat before the two of them broke out into a barroom fight was right there. There is a demographic, right? Let's talk about it in the U.S. because first of all, I think that this is a viable play for overseas markets, who will double down on something like this, right? Who, if for what I don't know what the Nintendo Switch costs, right, in those markets, or the Xbox Series S, which I think are viable competitors to this type of thing at that price point, right? But if you're in overseas markets and, exchange rate pricing causes those things to be more expensive, right, then this tablet is going to be, this is potentially a viable alternative. And I was mentioning to Brap, I don't, in the Japanese market, right, in some of these other markets that are like, are gadget fiendish, right? The fact that you can do this on your phone isn't going to matter to them, right? They're still going to go out and buy a different gadget, right, if they can. And in days, even in the U.S. market before, things like, we had the current iPhone, I would say the iPhone for the last, 3 or 4 generations, where battery life has just been incredible. There was a time in my adult life where I used to travel so much that exactly the use case that Forte mentioned, right? I would not use my phone. I wouldn't even use my phone for music, right, on the plane, because when I landed, I needed to have battery power so that I could use it as my GPS. But now we're not like that, right? And we have all these, extra battery packs that we carry around. But I do think that there's a consumer market, right, for a device like this, even in the U.S., in terms of, again, people who don't want to buy a full-blown console, people who want an optimized gaming experience that exceeds what you might get on a phone, people who don't like going out and buying a tablet because, if you have an iPhone 14, 13, right, with a 6.7-inch screen, or the Galaxy Fold or whatever, some super large phone, it's cannibalizing something that bumps up against a form factor size like the iPad mini, right? So people don't, have big phones like that and also tablets. There might be people who go get this. I just think that addressable market is very, 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 very small, right? But by the same token, the other thing I'll add is this is also Logitech, right? This isn't Microsoft or Sony putting out a tablet. This isn't a giant of the gaming industry, right, looking to move the needle, who's a platform owner. This is a company that sells peripherals, right? And I don't know that the objective is to sell like a huge ton of these. It's just to sell some. So I think that they'll be okay. I don't know what the uptake of this is going to be. And the pricing, not only butts up against the Series S and the Switch, it also isn't that too far off from an entry-level Steam Deck. So, on one hand, like we always say, consumers have tons of choice now. But by the same token, from a competitive standpoint, I don't know that this holds a ton of water.
Yeah, Forte, what are your thoughts, man?
No, I agree. I agree with that 100%. I mean, I do think that it is a market for people that would definitely be into this, especially if you're in a market where you use your phone predominantly to communicate with people all the time. You don't want to have interruptions in your gaming when it comes to notifications and stuff. And I think that's why the Switch does so well in those other markets, like in Japan and Asia and stuff, because that is a dedicated video game device that you don't have to worry about stuff like that with. So something like this that does have access, especially if they have a really, really good following and a really, really big player base when it comes to Game Pass support, I think that, or even with Nvidia being part of with Nvidia with GeForce Now and stuff, even if they have support like that, I think people will probably not a lot, not a huge amount of people, but there will be a subset of people that will definitely choose to go this route than a phone route. Like, I try xCloud and stuff on my phone and stuff. I have a backbone. and it's cool until you start getting Twitter notifications and you start getting, you know, just notifications just from different apps and stuff that's on your phone that kind of take you out of the immersion or of what you're doing. So, but then you also can go back to that thought process that anybody that's playing in that type of atmosphere, are they really trying to have like this, you know, groundbreaking experience where everything is just like they're saying like, oh, I just want to be immersed in this game. So it's kind of a give or take thing, but there will be people that will go after something like this just because they don't want to be disturbed in the gaming front when they are playing games like that.
Yeah, no,
I just want to jump in with one more point. Next Forte Reps says that. The other thing is, I don't know who did this. I know Tencent was providing the cloud backbone for this. I don't know whether Logitech did the software or Tencent did the software, but being a person who tests a lot of peripherals and spends a lot of time looking at the software for, you know, each of these big accessory manufacturers, I don't know that I look at the people who behind Logitech G Hub as being the people who I'm overly trustful of their software implementation on a tablet like this.
Oh no, I agree with that. G Hub is very, very fraudulent when it comes to just their own proprietary stuff that's in there. Like I'm always having to reset everything probably like once or twice a week just to get stuff to work the way it's supposed to be. So definitely integration and stuff like that being tied to that is kind of like a hit or miss thing too.
Yeah, it's gotten better and probably certainly a completely different development team, but still I'm gonna let the comment stand on its own based on their reputation.
Absolutely, I agree.
E, what are your thoughts, man, on this new device?
I think the guys pretty much summed it up, man. It's just another option. That's all it is. And then, you know, it's kind of like their answer to a dedicated handheld. I think that's the closest you're going to get, because people are always going to say, hey, can they make like the X-Boy or something like that? I think that's pretty much what that's going to stand in for. It'd be interesting to see what kind of goes for it, because I think it's kind of falling in that same realm, close to like the Steam Deck, as far as like price and stuff like that. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm not mad at it exists. I'm not necessarily looking for one, but it looks interesting. So.
Yeah. No, I mean, it does look interesting. I mean, like I said, it's you know, I think it's a nice looking device, nice form factor, but yeah, it's personally, it's not something that I would use. You know, 7-inch screen or 7-inch screen. You know, to me, that's treading close to a 6.7, you know, iPhone, you know, Pro Max, or, you know, one of the larger Galaxy phones.
Yeah, but you also gotta remember that this is the direction gaming is kind of going in now. You know, you got, you know, the adjustable market for gamers has gotten bigger, but the part that's gotten bigger are the people that would do something like play on their mobile phone or play free-to-play games like Call of Duty Mobile and stuff like that. That part of the ecosystem has gotten way bigger than the traditional side has gotten. Now they both grown, but you know, that's the reason you're seeing, you know, all these publishers and developers and going out there. That's why you see Sony out there trying to, you know, get games as a service off the ground and running, because they know it's kind of the future when it comes to like games and stuff coming out. You'll still get your traditional stuff, but you're going to still see way more of the stuff that they can put out there that is basically going to be recurring revenue. And the best place that that's going to take place is devices like this, devices like cell phones and stuff, or tablets, or just the means of just multimedia and being able to play your games anyway, anywhere, and anyhow you want to play. So that's kind of the future. So that's kind of why I say, you know, even if this isn't for everyone, it's going to be for the select few people that's going to want to dive into that experience that actually brings more money into the ecosystem.
And that's why I say, like, I could see more sense in this device landing at like near the end of this console generation or the back half of this console generation, when after which, you know, I think we'll have seen a little more movement of the consumer base in that direction. But, you know, I also don't put it beyond Logitech for this to just kind of be a seeding science experiment for these devices to not have been produced in large volume, and just to kind of get it out on the market and kind of see what the uptake is, so that they can make a decision on what to do to continue the next time around. The thing that makes me tepid about this is You know, unless we see that right now, I don't know that I have evidence that tells me there's going to be a generation 2 of this device, and that's what I would kind of need to see. And then, you know, basing it on Android, you know, with Google, just, I mean, it's probably their best choice, maybe their only choice, but that way is fraught with its own hazards, right? When you talk about, you know, how many years of updates are you going to get? How many security updates are you going to get? You know, when are you going to get, you know, Google to let a defect out, like dropping the 25th of December off the Google Calendar when they update it and things of that nature. So, you know, it's just, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. The other thing is, you know, this, because it's running Android and depending on how you connect it, I don't, you will have to configure it specifically to not get the notifications that you're talking about, Forte, and that would probably not be the normal path of default that the device would lead you down.
Nope.
When you pop this device, it's going to tell you to sign into Google, and at that moment, you're then going to get, you know, all of those alerts that normally come over across your Google channel, right? Mm-hmm. Unless you deliberately kind of turn them off or change the default.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have the same pop-up issue then.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly.
Yep. Same one that we have now.
All right.
And again, for each of those services that you sign into, right? I'm like, even on my phone, I constantly get pop-up notifications from Xbox and PlayStation.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like, for me, like, if that's the case, and it's at a 7-inch screen, and my phone's 6.7, I can just throw a backbone and not have to spend any more money. Not to spend the $350 to get the device. That's kind of my point, for me at least. Obviously, I'm aware that other consumers may think otherwise, but that's how I looked at it from my perspective.
Well, let me ask you this though, Enrique: if the item, if that item takes off, and a lot of people are saying it's really good, are you still going to have the same energy to say, you know what, it might be good, but it's not for me?
Yeah, if I don't see value in it, I'm not going to get it.
Well, because a lot of people say they don't see value in something until everybody. You know, I'm not trying to call you out or anything. It's just kind of been the norm with a lot of people inside the community. A lot of people say I don't see value in something until a lot of people start saying that they see value in it. Then also, well, I guess I'll give it a try. I'll buy it to give it a try. I'm like, if you wasn't interested before, why are you interested now? Just because a couple people on Twitter told you that it was good?
Yeah, no, I mean, for me,
certain influencers get hands on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Well, that's what's happening now with this. I mean, there's a couple of influencers that have kind of touted, have actually had some good things to say about this device, which is fair. I mean, it's fine if they think that, but for me, like, I look at it like Forte, like, if I'm going to spend $350, but my phone can do all those things, and like Hamp said, if I'm, you know, I'm going to get pop-ups anyway, and I'm at a 6-point-inch screen on my phone, you know, I could just throw a backbone on my phone. It's pretty much the same device that I already have. To me, it's, if I'm going to spend the $350 on a hardware product, that's portable, it's going to be a Steam Deck.
It's just tough for me to see where in the marketplace, and again, I'm not saying this to say that nobody's going to buy it. Just like Forte said, some niche of consumers will buy it.
Some people will. Yeah.
I just don't. I'm trying to think through from a use case perspective, from a requirements perspective, who this device is viable for to use as an alternative screen for the various platforms that it incorporates, right? You know, is this the thing that you use to play Xbox Game Pass, right? I guess maybe you could if you're into, you know, if you want to do Xbox Cloud gaming, but like, what drives me to throw a device like that in my bag when I go on travel, right? When I'm already carrying my phone, and I use big ass Mongo phones, right? When I'm already carrying my phone, and probably a tablet, right? Where, you know, and I've done a lot of cloud gaming, and a tablet to me is kind of the optimal screen size, but I mean that like a full size, right, tablet, 10, 12 inches or whatever. And then, you know, is that the best screen to play GeForce Now on? Again, to me, you know, GeForce Now is a service that you pay for to play games that you've already paid for on a smaller screen. Do I do that, or do I get a gaming laptop? And then so it's some of these other streaming services, like I just don't know. And I've gone down, you know, from having done testing and reviews, I've gone down this path. Samsung made a pair of large screen kind of media devices back in the day that didn't have cellular antenna in them. So they were essentially Android like entertainment devices in the phone form factor. And to me, it was just another thing that I had to like configuration manage and keep up to date, and make sure different things were signed in on, and make sure that I swipe notifications on. So, so it was just an additional thing. So it's just hard for me to see this as yet another thing in a gamer's kind of menagerie of devices that they have to maintain, that that they use it frequently enough to really warrant having that in their ecosystem.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Hamp. Sorry, go ahead, Forte, or I don't know, chiming in there.
I'm just laughing every time you call him. It's damn slow-mo. Hamp.
Yeah. Hey, he branded it, and now it sticks.
Yep, exactly. B Money, any thoughts on this product, man? Is this something you might be interested in?
No, not at all. I've said this multiple times, man. I'm not into any of these devices that stream games. Whenever there's a dedicated device where, you can download games that's what I'll be interested in. Steam Deck, things like that. But this xCloud stuff and just streaming games period is not something I'm really interested in. I think most people that kind of hype this up will probably be in that same boat. It's just one of those gadgets that you get, ride the wave of the hype for a while, and then it's in the back of the closet somewhere. It's one of those things you pull out like, oh, I had one of those. When you're talking about it 2 years later. So it's definitely not for me, but I'm sure somebody out there will dig it.
Yeah. The funny thing is, what you just said is the truth about any handheld. Some people switches like that. I guarantee you, in the next year to two, somebody's going to have a Steam Deck that's going to be that same exact way. It's just going to be something in the back of your closet that you're going to pull out and say, oh, yeah, this thing was cool. Yep. It allows me to play my Steam library wherever I go. And I think that's kind of just the thought process of what those type of what kind of systems are, unless you are in a dedicated region where that is something that you see all the time. Like we always talk about, like when Switch first came out, do you see somebody in New York on the subway playing their Switch? I mean, it happens, but does it happen consistently enough for you to feel like it's the norm compared to something like over in Asia or in Japan? Everybody's always doing something like that. It's the mobile capital of the world when it comes to like handheld devices, and people always looking down at their screen. The only thing that happens here in America that people look at their screen more is their phone. That's why you see more carriers and stuff trying to transition to, peripherals and stuff that are designed around your phone, because more people interact with their phone than anything. So it's just that our neck of the woods isn't the best test subject for something like this to really stand out, and we won't really truly understand it unless you were in one of those regions where you can see it in its native zone of actually what it's going to actually be like.
How dare you, sir, throw shade at handheld gaming?
Handheld gaming. I play my Switch. I tell this story every day. I play my Switch every morning. Every morning I play Tetris. I play Puyo Puyo Tetris every morning. Done it for 4 years straight now, because it's something that just is like my wake me up in the morning type game. Gets my mind working, gets me all ready for work and stuff. I do it every day. But guess what? Outside of that,
do you do it with a shirt on, Forte?
My Switch, what'd you say?
Do you wear a shirt while you play this?
It all depends on if I went to bed with a shirt on. Sometimes you may not go to bed with a shirt on. Sometimes you actually might not go to bed with anything. You're going to depend on what happens.
So one additional thing that I wanted to throw out, and I don't by any means think this will pull B Money across the line. I just say it for information purposes. So it is an Android device. It is a full-blown Android device. It has the Google Play Store on it. So it will run Android games natively right on the device. And there are many, many, many Android games that are now physical controller enabled. And in addition to that, I think a thing that will be interesting and really, if Logitech goes after this and incorporates this into the device, I think it will be a big get. So way back in the day, I used to have the OG Nvidia Shield, the handheld one that had the pop-up screen on the device. And I still have the second generation Shield Pro. here, but there are many Android games that have special Shield versions for them that play very analogously to their console counterpart. And if those games were incorporated on the device as well, that I think would significantly help round out that library, just as far as things for people to kind of dip into and test and try out. That would give them additional value added from having those physical controls on board. So it'll be interesting to see if Logitech goes down that path.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Hamp. All right, any other thoughts on this device? No. All right. Let's go to Mr. Shawn Layden. Shawn Layden has officially joined Tencent as a strategic advisor. The former PlayStation exec will advise, assist, and support Tencent as it deepens its gaming business. So this was actually announced on LinkedIn. Shawn has added that we are at an epoch-defining moment in gaming and interactive entertainment. There are many possible roads ahead, but only a few are profound, broadening, inclusive, edifying, inspiring, and or sustainable. I'm thrilled to continue this journey of discovery and thank Tencent for this opportunity. So, what do you guys think about this move? I'll just throw it out to the panel.
I guess Shawn doesn't see Tencent as evil as everybody else does.
I was about to say that people have been boogeymanning Tencent.
I mean, if you just look at everything that they're doing, I mean, they've taken over a big portion of the game industry. They got their hands in just about everything. It's just interesting that he chose to be a part of that. As far as kind of advising their next moves. So, a lot of people have a lot of respect for Shawn Layden and everything they did for PlayStation, including myself. So it's definitely, a lot of people probably feel it's a move out of left field, kind of. You know what I mean? To kind of go with, the Chinese empire that's been gobbling up everything in gaming. So,
right. But it's kind of interesting though, because all you hear people saying like, Tencent is the worst. It's terrifying that they're gobbling up everything. They got to be stopped. But then as I look down the replies of Shawn's, tweet, and I'm saying, "Congrats, Shawn! Can't wait to see what you're doing next." And this, I'm like, what we doing? Where are we going here? Like, are they the evil empire? Are y'all, or is this just how you just get to, you just see like how it all goes?
Yeah.
Money talks, bullshit walks, and and people gonna talk their shit, but at the same time, no one's gonna speak on it.
Yeah.
Like Tencent is evil, but Shawn signing is like, okay, well, big things happening, good things are coming. It's like, which one is it?
Yeah.
It's all interesting, man. Shawn, they look and says like, we got somebody on the inside now. We got to celebrate this so we can make them feel comfortable. It's good for him, great for him. I know he's probably been missing, being a part of the day-to-day discussions when it comes to gaming, even though he does keep himself pretty busy when it comes to his stuff that he says on Twitter. But in general, there's really nothing negative about this. I mean, he has a very, very sound business approach when it came to things. PlayStation was at his best when he was at the head of it with him and Andrew House and everything. So I just see it as a net positive for Tencent to have somebody that can actually, help navigate the treacherous waters that are going on when it comes to acquisition seasons and everything like that. Because sometimes, the best move you can make is the move you don't make, and maybe that's something that he could definitely actually help them do. And then I just think that in general, just having him back in the fold when it comes to gaming is always a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's real quick, just interesting. Shawn Layden's previous commentary on, I think, because Forte you brought up acquisitions. He's actually talked about consolidation. He says he thinks consolidation takes the variety out of the marketplace. He said that he actually says that's his fear, and over time that's going to make the industry moribund. How would I pronounce that correctly?
What's the word?
Moribund, Moribund.
Yes, yeah. I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to defer to Hamp on this one.
And maybe he doesn't.
Moribund is basically a point of death. Is kind of yeah.
Sound like a Dark Souls boss.
Yeah, right. Oh man, Moribund kicked my ass. E.
Moribund kicked my ass.
Trying to fuck with Moribund, man.
Yeah.
But maybe Shawn Layden doesn't look at Tencent as the evil empire,
Right.
Because they aren't going out and gobbling up everybody, like, and trying to keep them in house, and have this big consolidation war where Tencent is more like, yo, we're just gonna keep investing in all these companies, and y'all can keep doing your same day to day. We'll dump a bunch of money in, and you'll just owe us that money, once you start to succeed. So maybe that's one of the reasons why he went over there, because he doesn't feel like they're going in there just gobbling up everything that they can and trying to make it their own thing, similar to what
Here we go. Say it.
Embracer's doing.
Yeah, there you go. Embracer.
Yeah, because Tencent, right, they're really trying to build this like big ecosystem that is around game development, publishing, things like that, right? That's kind of similar to what Embracer's doing, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, but Embracer's going out and buying the IPs, whereas Tencent is more like, we'll invest, and it's a partnership. It's not like just the same thing with the Ubisoft thing. It's like they don't own Ubisoft, but it allows them to have a voice and what happens in at those board meetings at Ubisoft. So they're looking for more of a partnership and trying to capitalize on whatever they can as far as their revenue shares from these companies, but they're not out there trying to own everything like Embracer is. Where Embracer's taken on the Borderlands IP, they've taken on Tomb Raider, they've taken on Deus Ex, Saints Row, and all of these they weren't necessarily big AAA IPs, but they were notable IPs in the gaming community, and now we have to see what they do with them. The Saints Row is a shell of itself. It was the biggest laughing stock of this year so far, and people kind of look at that and it's like, yo, the future might not be as bright for what Embracer is doing. They're buying all this stuff. They're not really doubling down on their development teams and ensuring that they're putting out quality products. They're just, hey, whatever it is, put it out. And so people are kind of looking at them a little sideways right now. You're taking on all this IP. What do you actually plan on doing with it? Are you going to cultivate a good environment to release quality product, or are you just gonna put out whatever these developers put together and hope for the best? So
and the thing most people, when they start talking about Tencent, they bring up the Chinese Shadow Corp, the Chinese money, the stuff like that. But and a lot of times there are people who genuinely know what they're talking about, but a lot of times people are like carrying like a talking point that they heard from somebody else.
Right.
They can't really tell you why they're evil and why they're like the evil empire, but they heard someone say that they're the evil empire. And so I don't know. So maybe like someone like a Shawn can kind of, where he has spoken on like consolidation, kind of go in and give them some direction, like you're saying, B. It's like, what is your direction for buying everything that you are buying? Tencent is brought up like the most, but a lot of people don't even talk about where SNK is. Who people don't even know who SNK is owned by now.
And NetEase.
Right.
Oh yeah, NetEase.
And that, and you want to look into that. That's like some real dark stuff. You talk about governments and how things are done or whatever. So it's like you can't escape any of it if you really think about it. And that's why again, I kind of mentioned on Twitter the other day. I said you should be concerned with any corporation gobbling up anything, and I don't know why people have like this comfort with like even like say like Microsoft and Sony doing it. It's like you really want to be careful with anybody holding too many cards of anything, and in particular, like I said with Xbox, and this isn't throwing shade at Xbox or Microsoft for what they're doing, but it's like some of the differences between like a Tencent Embrace or whatever. They don't have platforms to push their games. They will utilize the platforms that are available to them to, push the product that they're pushing. And it's like, I don't know. I maybe it's just me. I don't know how people feel about it, but I said that's something people should look at and think about. Like what could that mean for future implication? Is like if a platform holder holds like all these major publishers too, but nobody seems to think that way. I'm like, think about all of them the same way. I don't really try to parse out who's a good guy, who's a bad guy. I just kind of look at it, all of it, and what their end goals are. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah. Hamp, what are your thoughts on Layden going to Tencent?
It's just, and not, I'm not saying this in a negative manner. It's all speculation right now. It's just anybody's guess. I don't want to put too heavy a brand on it, right? Because very, very, very often, these are just marketing arrangements. Right, this is just a way to attach a name to a corporation, a financial going concern. We don't know if the contractual arrangement between them is that he's got 12 billable hours a week, right? And he's just there to sit in some number of meetings that get popped up on his Google Calendar.
Like Reggie.
Yeah, but by the same token, we could be looking at the next CEO of Ubisoft, right? 5 years down the road, who knows? But I wouldn't put too, I wouldn't write it too, heavily in stone right now until we kind of see a little more what it means. I don't want to, and I just put this out as an alternative theory. There is a lot of, Tencent, the evil empire. They're definitely making aggressive moves. I think I mentioned a couple weeks ago, I believe they're like the 4th largest cloud provider on the planet. So there are plays that they're making there too. But I do also want to say there is reason for this, right? Tencent, even though they are a significantly large publisher, because of the size of their footprint, has also run into the most resistance in China, right, in getting its games published. And when you're making a big investment the way that they are, in game development, and then your own home nation, right, prevents your games from being published, there's a reason why they're fishing in other waters and trying to stretch their arms out so that they can, have other international markets to put their games out in. And so that's part of their strategy as well. And, there's possibilities there that it is not, so much as nefarious as just it is an essential effort if you're, from a strategic perspective, if you're trying to be a big player on a market.
Yeah, no, that's actually interesting perspective on the Chinese front, like that their games are. I feel like there may have been an article about that recently. Maybe no. Because I feel like
there's several articles a year because they typically have like a three to a half dozen games of theirs that are banned in their own country.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting how this plays out. I was again, I think most of us were surprised by this news because I think he was consulting somewhere else. I forget. He was doing something with another group. I know when he was on What's Up PlayStation. What's up, E?
No, Hamp's right, because people were stretching and be like, oh, Tencent's about to buy Sony.
Oh, yeah, I saw some of that today, by the way.
He's a strategic advisor. And look, when you get to be that age, because Layden is 61 years old and you're no longer a full-time employee, right? Just like he said, right? He probably has several consulting deals on the table. He's at the point in your career where you go off to become a board member, right? Yeah. Of different corporations. And so he's probably got, probably 3 different things that he does part-time on a basis that allows him to live his life, enjoy his retirement, do whatever he wants to do as he's traveling the world. Right, and then he has these little toe dips of time that he gets paid for when he charges billable hours. But there's always the potential that at some point it will hit a tip over point where there's greater involvement. But as of right now, I would just assume it's just another one of his contracted deals that he's involved in part time.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because they're not like stupid by any means. There's name recognition, that goes along with it. There's connections and contacts. Like you said, Hamlin, that's something that senators do like all the time. People who've been CEOs and companies. It's just like advisory, or even just like, yeah, you have a name that is synonymous that we can kind of utilize. So yeah, we'll give you like this corner office. You just come in, check in every now and again, and you get, like you said, billable hours and the whole nine. Like you said, could be like much ado about nothing, or it could be something else. You just don't know.
Yeah. Right. Definitely the type of person where, if you are making moves or about to make another big significant move, that in this kind of antitrust, anti-competitive, heavy environment, that is going to cause you to get called up to Capitol Hill. It doesn't hurt to have somebody like Shawn Layden right in your stable who can go field those questions, rather than have a lot of, Chinese executives show up, for a hearing like that, that are probably going to get you, not, potentially not treated as fairly.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, no, great points, gentlemen, across the board here. I do want to move on to the final topic of the latter half of the show here, and that is Nvidia announced its 40 series cards, specifically the GeForce RTX 4090 and the RTX 4080 at its GTC 2022 keynote. Got to get myself a leather jacket, by the way.
You want to look like Jensen even after that performance?
Yes, sir, with no clothes.
Oh no, man! Jensen then jumped on a hand grenade after that one.
If that was even him, I mean, very good chance that could have been his AI avatar like it was last time.
That's true.
That's a great point. All right, so we have the GPUs are arriving actually next month. 4090 is going to go on sale for $1,600 on October the 12th with 24 gigabytes of GDDR.
Did you say on sale?
For sale. It's for sale.
Yeah, there you go.
Not on sale. That would suggest that, yeah.
On sale. Oh, man, you talking about pre-COVID prices right now.
I know, right? So $1,600 with the 24 gigabytes of GDDR 6X memory. This is NVIDIA saying this is 2 to 4 times faster than its 3090 Ti. And it consumes the same amount of power. And it's $100 more than its predecessor. So there's price increases here. I'm bringing out the pitchforks, and I plan on riding E. I don't know if you're going to join me, but we're storming the castle. Let's see here, and then the RTX 4080. Actually, base model for that starts at $900. That features 12 gigabytes of GDDR6X memory. And they also have a 16 gigabyte version that will retail at $1,200. So it's kind of interesting to have a 12 and 16. But anyhow, I'll open up to the panel. What did everyone think? I don't know if you guys watched the stream live. I did parts of it, and then. After they announced the cards, I just turned it off. Wasn't interested in anything else. But we'll have DLSS 3.0 as well, which is exclusive to those GPUs as well. So I'll open up to the panel. Feel free to chime in, gentlemen. Thoughts?
I'll leave this to you guys. I'm not.
I mean, the 4080 seems interesting. At $899. That's probably the one I'm most interested. We'll have to see what the specs are on the 4070. Other than that, man, like this shit's priced way too high. So we kind of knew that. You know what I mean? We knew what we're getting into. Like Ham said, the price of electronics is they're going to be insane over the next couple of years. I mean, inflation is just driving everything up. It costs more to pay people. It costs more to ship these things. It costs, everything just costs more. So, to get 2 times performance for $100 increase, you have to kind of weigh that as a consumer and see if that's really worth it to you. We'll have to see, what the actual results are once the cards are in the wild and tests are being run and things like that. But, for what they are, the 4080 seems interesting. We'll see what the 4070 is hitting for.
Yeah.
That's really, kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, yeah. That 4080 would be interesting if it wasn't using the die from a 3070 Ti, and they just basically said we're just going to charge you more for something that was. I mean, yeah, did they make improvements to it? Absolutely, but it's like it's hard for me to get behind any of these cards when the previous gen cards, from a price to performance standpoint, were exponentially better, because that was the thing that we celebrated last generation. I mean, the funny thing about it, and these cards just came out, but the fact that these cards were celebrated as much as they were, 3070s being $500, 3080s being $600, $700 at the top end. Now we're talking about $150, $200 uplift. And then you're moving the manufacturing of what cars sat on what dies to the one above it. So you're basically just moving so basically a card that cost $500 before, with some tweaks, now it's going to cost $800. I mean, I would be fine with it if they were still using like the same dies that they were using for 3080s, but now they're using those for 3090s and 3090 Ti's and stuff like that. So I don't know, man. Me and Slomo were talking about this the other day. We were, he was contemplating going out and getting a 3080 Ti because Best Buy had them on sale for like $800 or something bucks or $900, and I told him, no, man, just wait for the 40s to come out. They about to announce them. I said, you ain't going to do it because it's going to be a huge power uplift. And then after seeing either real Jensen or decoy Jensen sit on stage and say all that stuff.
I like how you called him decoy Jensen.
Seeing all that stuff sitting on stage, I was just like, I called Slomo back. I said, you know what, man, if you could find yourself a 30 series card for a really good price, which they all are on sale right now, especially the EVGA ones because of the whole situation with that, I would do that because that's the better bang for your buck. And the fact that those cars are selling out like crazy now, due to the fact that everybody, I mean, I think everybody's just kind of looking at it like this is ridiculous. It just hasn't been a really good week for Nvidia when it comes to like their partnerships or this announcement of these new cars. Now, of course, people are going to buy them because at some point 3080s and 3090s are going to be gone, and you have to buy them on a secondhand market. And people are going to be like, well, if you want a better car, you're going to pay a little bit more money for it. And at that point, you're probably just going to want to get something that's brand new. So this isn't really going to hurt Nvidia, but it sucks to see that that's where we're at when it comes to manufacturing of everything, and price of goods and costs have went up, but it's so blatant what they're doing, and it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, by the way, Hamp and I talked about this earlier. TSMC has already let their clients know that the prices are going to increase. There's going to be they've already increased prices already. There's going to be another 5% to 8% increase, and this is after hiking advanced chip prices by 10% and then less advanced chip prices by 20% last month. So there's more. So that's coming down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, for those who don't know, TSMC is responsible for producing most Apple, Qualcomm, Nvidia, and AMD chips. So, yeah. Hamp, what are your thoughts, man?
I'm gonna hard out and disagree with Forte.
Yeah, go ahead. I need to hear this. I'm waiting.
Oh.
The die process and certain other parameters of the 4080, I don't know are necessarily a reason to be dismissive of what their potential is. We haven't seen benchmarks from these cards, and that to me will be the telltale of what their actual performance is out in the wild. It'll start with benchmarks, and then it'll be real game performance. So there are manufacturing differences, right? That do leave them at parity, not necessarily differences, but similarities, right, with the previous generation. But that doesn't necessarily mean that those manufacturing similarities discount, right, the move to the new architecture. And so when you have a new architecture card, it's difficult to tell. We don't know right now what efficiencies that they gain within those rendering pipelines and the different methodologies and techniques they use. So it's uncertain in my mind right now, what their comparative performances are going to be. The RTX 2080 has 20% more memory than the RTX 3080, and the 4080 16 gigabyte has 33% more than the RTX 3080 12 gigabyte. So it just depends, right? Memory bandwidth and nanometer process isn't necessarily the trump card of how these things are going to perform. So to me, it's a wait and see. And yes, I do know that the 4080 has a smaller, not as wide memory bus as the previous generation cards in some instances, depending on what SKUs you're looking at. But again, it all depends. Yeah, I know that it's not the way you intended it, Forte, but I would, just the cautionary tale here is, right, it's the same thing as the Xbox PlayStation argument, right? The 12 teraflops and yada, yada, yada. There's potential differences, right, in rendering pipelines and what gets delivered. So it's just a wait and see. To me, I don't know how relevant these cards are to the marketplace. They are at the super top end, where incredibly few people are going to buy them. There is a point, obviously, for people who are still on 2000 series cards to consider them viable options if they're at that upper end of 2000 series cards and they're ready to move. Once we see benchmarks, they'll be able to decide whether or not it makes sense for them to go ahead and make the leap to a 4000 series card or just to sit and wait. But most people who are going to be at the 4070, 4060 level, we're again kind of in wait and see mode. My own prediction is that, those cards are coming, the early half of next year, but with a lack of, transparency on just how things are going to kind of work globally around the industry. Nvidia was not at a point where they were ready in a keynote to commit to when those cards were gonna be launched. I think, both AMD and Nvidia got earned themselves a lot of ill will last time. Not for dynamics that were entirely within their control, but with what truly turned out to be the soft launches of their last generation cards. When you compare it to the 3090 and 3080 last time, those things launched, but they damn sure weren't available anywhere, and they damn sure weren't available for MSRP. And so in many cases they launched 2 years ago, but they just became available now. I'm in wait and see mode to see how this unfolds. It's more pertinent, although one of my boxes has a 3080 Ti, so I've got to make a decision on what the generational jump for that is. But for everything else, I'm in wait and see mode to see what the 4070s and 4060s look like.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. I think outside of, I say the die thing, that's just I just wish they didn't do that. But my other, it's not even really a concern, it's just more of an observation of the whole situation. Like, when you look at these cards, when you saw, like, even when they talked about the specs for the 30 series, it like blew everybody away because it was like a huge spike compared to the 20. And then you also had a bunch of people were still sitting on like 10 series cards and everything at that point too, because a lot of people just, and they were right to do this, think that the RTX cards for the 20 series was just like, oh, this is just a gimmick series right here. They ain't gonna be able to do ray tracing like that. Most people were smart enough to say, I'm just gonna wait a generation until they actually, flush that out. And that's kind of what happened with the 30 series. So I look at the 30 series more of what the 10 series was. Like, the 30 series is like that generation that you really don't need to move on from unless you just want to be on the bleeding edge of technology and you want to just have the best of the new of the new. Because let's be for real, you can have a 3090 or a 3080 and you're still not struggling. There's no game out here you're struggling with. And I got
a 3070. I'm doing good, Forte.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not.
I'm not
I got a 3070 Ti and I'm not struggling. It's like, so the 4,000s being more money on top of it being on top of all the other stuff that's going on with it, which if you're a person that already has a card, that's the only reason you're thinking about the other stuff. If you don't have a card, yeah, this would probably be a good avenue. But then I will also probably tell you can go out and get a 30 series because they drop the prices on those things like crazy. You can go out right now and get a 3090 Ti, 24 gigs of VRAM for $950. That card was $2,000 less than a year ago. I mean, because of inflation, but even when it launched, it still launched at $1,400. So now you got cars, you got 4080s launching at 12.
Right. So I think the risk there is in the decision making in the face of incomplete information. Right. So my personal thing is, and again, this is just me personally, I tend, with some exceptions, I personally tend to not throw money at technology that I know has been superseded, right, and is on its way out. And that's just a matter of like longevity of ROI and yada, yada, yada. So, once 4080s become available, and I mean available and obtainable, right, because I was telling Brap earlier this week, like I don't wait in lines. Right. So if it's impossible for me to get a 4080 card, that breaks my threshold of convenience, and I'm not standing in a line to get one. Right. But generally, once 4080's out on the market, I'm not generally going to really consider the 3080 because I'm like, well, why am I going to throw 80% of the money at a 3080 that I could put towards a 4080? But my thing is just, there are things that we don't know right now, and that makes it risky to maybe go after that card, because right now what we know is that DLSS 3.0, right, is hardware dependent upon the 4000 series cards, and so there is going to be performance gains that are made available, right? I mean, there's going to be some raw compute differences, right? But then there's also going to be gains, right, from the SDKs and APIs. So it's just, it's worrisome maybe to go too far down that path. Again, unless you're a person who's been wanting to upgrade. Your suspicion is that these 4000 series cards are going to drop, and you're still not going to be able to easily obtain one until sometime next year, and you don't want to wait the 6 months. And again, kind of going back to what I said earlier in the show about lots of PC gamers, we just have a recap clock, and when that clock alarm goes off, it's time for you to upgrade, right, and recapitalize, and that's just what you're going to go on. And so you may not wait those 6 months, and you may just go ahead and go, like you said, with the 3080 Ti. So I don't know. People will have choices, and they'll be able to decide.
Right.
When more information comes out, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. No, I know you guys have joked around about me getting a 40 series. That's probably not happening for me. I just want to throw that out there. Yes, go ahead, Hamp.
Yeah, and one other thing I just want to get back to the nanometer process. I understand and see the perspective that it's disappointing that everything didn't move to the 4 nanometer process. But when we talk about what's going on with chips, right, it's very well possible that the 4080s didn't go to the 4 nanometer process because there's not production capacity, right, and manufacturing line capacity, right, to make that jump. So because TSMC did miss their target to get to 3 nanometers for the iPhone, right? So that means that the iPhone is backed up, right, impacting production capacity on some production line, either 4 nanometer or 5 nanometer. And so, right, in Apple's, right, one of their largest customers. So I just don't know, what there was out in terms of variables for production pipeline, but that they may have just done what they could. But maybe production capacity will open up more, next year, particularly as, additional foundries come online across the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Great points, Jim, and across the board. But like I was saying, I know that there's a joke that FOMO will kick in. I will get a 40 series card. That's not going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen, Forte. We'll see. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think you'll upgrade. I think if you go to a second PC because you want one for production, content creation, live streaming, whatever, obviously it would make the most sense for you to go to a 4000 series card. But I don't think you'll upgrade.
You think I'm going to buy a whole new PC then?
You might. You might be tipped over and convinced to go. If Forte comes in with yet another great deal, right from GameStop.
I tried to sell him a PC for $1,000.
Forte, have you sold that PC yet?
Sure did.
Oh man, how much? Was it $1,200?
$954.
What?
It dropped. I told you it dropped to under 1,000. It went to 50% off clearance.
I didn't even know that.
It had a 3080 in it.
So you actually got a PC for the price of a 3080.
Oh man,
a whole PC with an 11th gen processor, i7 11th gen i7 700 KSQ.
I got the 12th gen, but still
doesn't matter. That could have been a perfect second PC.
Oh man, Forte, I wish you would have let me know about the dropping to 900.
Listen, man, that thing went quick as soon as it dropped again.
Oh, I bet, man. I don't have any doubt about it.
I said if I had $1,000, I would have bought it and gave it to one of my kids.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's a great price, man. Absolutely, for the cost of a GPU.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, any other any other thoughts on Nvidia before we wrap up the show?
One other thing that I'll add that people may just want to keep an eye out for, because I haven't been able to track this down yet, and I'm sure some smart person out there believes that they know already, is whether or not the 4000 series cards, where is the break point where they are CPU limited? And I know that there are some technologies and methods in the rendering pipelines that are going to make them a little less dependent on CPUs. But I just don't know how far that's going to go. I think some of that's going to have some dependency on, DLSS 3.0 limitation, how much of a, off lift there is from that. But that might be another thing that you want to take a look at, right? That you may have a CPU where, it's going to be, your whole system is going to be bottlenecked and it doesn't make sense for you to step up to a 4000 series card until you upgrade CPU. But I just don't know right off the top of my head where that breakpoint is. And so, ditto for RAM, and depending on how much you have, and more importantly, what speed it's running at.
Yeah, that's actually a great point, Hamp. Appreciate that, man. Well, if we don't have any other thoughts on Nvidia, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up the show. Want to give a big shout out to everyone in the live chat. Thanks so much for hanging out this evening. Really appreciate the time as always. Do me a favor, hit that like button. If you're new, subscribe, hit the bell notifications so you're alerted when we go live. Also, please check out our good friends at DPS Podcast, Forte and Slow-Mo. You guys have a show tomorrow. Slow-Mo's channel tomorrow?
Yes, it is. All DPS right. Podcast on Slow-Mo Backlash channel tomorrow. Going to be lit. Episode 102.
102. And Forte will be broadcasting with his shirt off.
I'm always actually doing that because we don't have to be on camera.
That's hilarious. All right, so check out DPS on Slow-Mo Backslaps channel on YouTube. Forte and Slow-Mo go live at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And big shout out to Slow-Mo. Hopefully you're not sleeping in a ditch, as Forte alluded to. Hopefully you are.
He tripped somewhere.
Yeah, you apparently have bad ankles. I'm not aware of this, but hopefully you didn't fall and trip somewhere. What'd you say?
What'd you say? E?
I'm just trying to figure out how Forte got to him being in a ditch, like some old drunk.
Hey man, I'm trying to tell you,
sleeping it off.
He was trying to make it. He was trying to make it to his PC, and he was walking up some stairs, and his ankle gave out. And
apparently, Slow-Mo has alcohol
ended up
issues
somewhere.
and ankle issues.
Yeah, basically,
Oh,
he has like
man.
he talks like Brap when he's on. He talks like Brap when he's on Crossfire.
Oh man.
Slurring his words and stuff.
Hey, you know what? Hey, man,
Yeah, I can't wait for. Are you gonna be on Crossfire this Friday?
Yes.
I'm looking forward to that. Make sure you bring your A. Make sure you bring your A slurp game.
Why is that?
Just make sure you do, man.
Why is that?
Because you should see the people in the chat and be like, man, we're drunk Brap.
Yeah, people be rude for that. I'm like, no, sorry, not today, guys. There's no celebratory, Brap before Crossfire.
That's what you can tell them. You said, listen, man, I gotta do some stuff with my wife tonight, so I gotta make sure I'm of sound mind.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much Forte. Yeah, so. But,
I know,
yeah.
man. Trust me.
Yeah. But no, check out DPS tomorrow night. Also want to give a big shout out to Mr. Eric Jackson who joined us. Hey man, miss you. Great to have you back on the show, man. appreciate you coming through, sir.
Nah, thanks for letting me jump on. I know, like we've been talking back and forth about me trying to get on the last few weeks, and it just hasn't worked out. So luckily tonight I was able to. So it's good to join you guys, man. Good talk.
Absolutely. Like I said, man. Like hey, man, open door anytime you want to, jump in. Hey, just come in, man. So, but definitely appreciate you, man. Then we got B Money 101. B, man, always a pleasure, sir. If you want to be found, let everyone know they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me everywhere. Same name, B Money 101. Great show tonight, fellas. Catch you next week.
No doubt. So, and then we got. I don't know if you want to give people your Twitter handle if you want to be found.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, EC Jackson with an X. Just out there trying to keep things light, make people laugh. You can't really talk games too much. People lose their minds, so I just kind of keep it loose. Never offer an opinion or reply to anybody. Don't do it.
The gaming talk has definitely come to a halt on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like people are not talking about games, and it's very sad.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like that when we remember 2013, 14, 15. Wasn't like that at all. They used to talk games. How developers used to engage with us, and the community chased all the developers away.
Yep, they try to stay away from us like the plague now.
Right, Forte? They're gone. I mean, yeah, but it's unfortunate. And then we got Hamp. Hamp, I don't know if you want to be found. But
no, man, I'm
great
welcome.
shows always, man.
I'm happy for people to stop on by. So you can come by and see our show, the Enough to Keep Going Weekly Games podcast on the E2KG Network podcasting channel on YouTube at around about 8:45 p.m. Eastern on Sunday nights. Or you can catch me on Twitter at @Hamp_Lee Hampton. So there we go. I'm going to spend the rest of the night putting this new PC together with my Ryzen 9 5950X. So should be a good time.
Okay.
Wait, hold up. 5950X, let's go.
Yeah.
You guys tried the Wolong demo?
I love my 5950X. It's beautiful.
Did we try
demo?
What
The
demo?
Wolong.
I haven't played it, no.
No, I haven't played it yet. Slomo said he couldn't stand it. He said it was unresponsive.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing like mixed results and mixed feelings on it. Like I told you guys in the DM, I wasn't really feeling it. Something felt off about it. I'm not sure what it is. It's just, I don't know. I'm gonna try it again and see if it clicks a little bit. But at the same time, I'm still in Elden Ring, so I might have that muscle memory thing going too. So,
Do you think it plays more like Neo, or more like
I'm seeing people say that. I don't feel like it plays like Neo at all. Or maybe it plays like
I
Neo.
saw people
2
say
more so,
Sekiro.
and I didn't play Neo 2, so maybe it plays more like that one.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel like it played like the original Neo at all.
Does it remind you of Sekiro at all? Because I've heard some people say that. Well, interesting. Okay.
No. It feels like it wants to be a cross between like a hack and slash and like a Souls like game. Like you can, it's like they're crossbreeding like Gaiden and Neo and Souls in an interesting way. But it also feels like it's trying to do like that. What's the other one that just dropped, that battle royale? That's like it's in Game Pass right now.
I forget what it's called, but I know Slomo was
Cog is
playing it.
playing it a lot. I can't think of it.
What's it called? Is it?
They're talking about Nakuru?
Nakuru?
Blade point game?
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like
that's
that,
it.
the battle royale, like martial arts, like game or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like it's trying to mesh all those different things together. So I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I need to. Like I said, I got Elden Ring going right now, so maybe that's why it just wasn't clicking at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't know. I meant to bring it up earlier to see what the chat had to say, but yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'd like to know what you guys think, but if you're gonna play it soon because it's pulling out of the I think both Xbox, PC, and PlayStation on the 25th.
All right, I might have to check it out. I haven't played it. I kind of been in a gaming funk more recently. So
that happens too, man.
yeah, where I'm just like, there's just, I don't know, man. Like after beating The Last of Us remake part 1, I don't know. I'm looking for something compelling. I don't know. I'm just not outside of playing the Yappening with Hamp. I mean, that's on Halo. That's pretty much it. I mean, but I'm just looking for, I don't know, looking for something to scratch that itch, I guess. But I haven't found anything yet. So
You might be aging
sometimes
out
you
of gaming. Brap.
Hey, Ham, that could be a real thing. I thought about that, bro.
oh, don't say that. Maybe I am.
Like
Maybe I'm
the
aging out.
Could be happening, man. Look when
that
you're.
landscape. Sometimes you look at that landscape like, you know, I always ask the question, what will I be like as an older gamer? It's like that might pass you by.
Yeah, like look. If the industry's not doing for you what you need, then you might just be aging out. May not find something that satisfies you. Maybe like some of these other gamers who are out here trying to be miserable about gaming every single day. Wake up first thing in the morning to find something that they're dissatisfied and annoyed about.
Like 5 a.m.
Yep. I said it all the time, man. I said if somebody who's not if you could open the door to like Twitter gaming, like as a non-gamer, just open the door and look in on it, you'd be like, what the hell? What are y'all? Why are y'all even doing this?
It's like what's that?
Aggravated, miserable, angry, pissed off.
What's that community meme where Glover walks in and like everything's on fire?
Exactly. It'd be like, yo, you guys are miserable as shit. Like gamers seem miserable around here.
That's true.
Like that's to me that's a problem. Like there's been all this rhetoric in the last few years about like how the escapism of gaming is like psychologically bad for you. I'm like, great Scott, man. If gaming's not allowing you to take your mind off of other problems and other things that are bothersome, and if gaming and I understand that there's a market and maybe even arguably a need. Right for the critical voice within gaming, but great Scott, man, if you don't just sit down to a game to have fun, if you always have to have your critical eye turned on to find something bad about every single game that you play so that you can post a review or tweet about it, like that to me is a miserable life.
Yeah, that's that anti-social media effect, man.
Yeah, that's just the level of
He said anti-social media.
I'm like, they call it social media, but this shit is way anti-social, man. The way people interact with each other, like in normal society, like if you were out and about acting this way, fights would be happening constantly. Like somebody would be always getting their ass whooped around you 24/7. Yeah. The way people just talk, that 5G bravery that people have. Like, homie,
5G bravery.
Homie. If we were walking through the parking lot, you just walking behind me saying the things that you saying, you would get fucked up.
Yeah, I'm over here minding my own business, saying what I'm happy about. Right. You overhear me in the bar, and you got to come over and say that I'm right, that I'm full of shit, and I have no right to be happy about what's making me happy.
Yeah. Exactly.
Try getting married and waking up every day and like just starting every day off telling your spouse what you're miserable about.
Oh yeah.
What you don't like being married to them.
See how far that takes you, by the way.
Running dialogue going like all day long, like just like a Twitter timeline. Like you know what else? You walk in the room, and you know what else?
And you know what else?
Just keep going.
Some people actually suggesting some games for me. Somebody said God of War will bring you back. Well, God of War's out till November. I'm not gonna wait till November to play something.
I've been replaying God of War 2018 on PC. I think that'll do your heart some good.
I might give that a run. Somebody actually suggested Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. I've actually been eyeing Yakuza. Was it Yakuza 0? I think it is. It's one of the Yakuza games I didn't complete, and then I'm actually thinking about maybe going back to. I didn't finish Tales of Arise, so I'm thinking about maybe going back to that. So.
Yeah, you might have to do some revisits or go back and finish off some stuff you didn't,
Yeah,
I just dive into some smaller games.
Yeah, well,
that's what I always do. That's what
I wanted to get back into Stray B, but then I was like, nah, I don't feel it. I'll tell you, the Last of Us remake did something to me. Like it was it's one of my favorite games.
But you know what, Enrique? That might be like your psyche just telling you like there's nothing wrong with just stepping away from games for a while.
Yeah.
And just go into something else, like read,
Well, that's
get some coloring books, something.
Whip out remember that big box of Crayolas, the 64 box. Remember that was
you would enjoy. You had the 64, but it had the sharpener in the side.
Yeah, you were a baller if you had that in your class. Walking out with all the kids would look at you and be like, "Oh shit, he's got the 64."
You might just have to take a little break, man. Just it happens sometimes. Like there's just times like gaming just isn't hitting for me, so I just step back.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that because I've been trying to watch more television content like House of the Dragon, which I really like a lot. I'm trying to get to the Lord of the Rings show on what's it called? But I have been finding I found myself watching more movies recently. That's kind of been scratching that itch a little bit for me, that entertainment itch. But I definitely want to play some games. Like I have been playing, but I've been playing not as much. And when I do play, it's the Yappening, which I'm having a blast playing that, by the way. I think that's a great addition to Halo Infinite. I was a little skeptical at first.
You still playing that game?
Yeah. I went back and started playing it with the Yappening because it's the new game mode that just came out. I didn't think I was going to like it, but Hamp was like, hey, try it out. And I had a blast playing it. It's fun. And I'm not a big team battle guy either. Like, that's not really my favorite mode. But I'm definitely enjoying this. You know, we did was it team deathmatch with snipers? Was that what we played?
Yeah, we did well, I don't know. I did Skockets. And I don't know if the Yappening, so that game event actually ended 2 days ago. And I'm not sure if that's a persistent mode that they're keeping around. I suspect that was both an LTE and an LTM, but we'll see. I'm sure somebody in chat knows and is telling us for certain. I did Skockets when I played like the night before you jumped on. So that was a mode, that was a big team battle on the Last Man Standing map that had come out. That was everybody only had rockets and skewer. So that was pretty wild. And then I played matches the night I played, and then the night you joined up with me, a Power Cell or whatever it is. So it was Fiesta. So you constantly spawned right with a new random set of weapons each time.
You know what? Fiesta makes me angry. Like
like
you should hear like Hamp has heard me. I'm cussing. I'm dropping F-bombs because I always get they always spawn me with the worst weapons, and then I run into like a team that seems to have rocket launchers the entire time.
Right, and then the one time you spawn with rockets, you get taken out like 30 seconds after you spawn.
I get sniped. Yeah, that's pretty much what happens.
Yeah, and that mode also drove. I've never seen, and I don't play a lot. I'm like you. I don't play big team battle. I always play the small squad stuff. But it seemed, but the few times that I had played, it seemed like that mode just drove people to mount up in vehicles a heck of a lot more than normal. So some of those matches we had were just big vehicle battles. And I had, and I think I told you weren't with me, but I had like one of my best moments. And this is one of the reasons why playing Halo Infinite can still be fun. Is you still have a lot of people talk about like the set piece moments in Halo. You have these set piece moments in multiplayer as well that you create of your own accord. So there was one time I was on a Wraith, and I jumped on and. The guy took the Wraith and was driving it over the edge of the cliff. I guess he was just going to suicide and kill me along with him. But just as we were going over, I stuffed a grenade in the cupola or whatever as it was going over the side, and I actually had grapple. So I stuffed a grenade in, it went over the side, I then used grapple to pull myself back up over the cliff as I was falling down. So I didn't die, but then I heard the tank blow up behind me and saw the kill notification go off on my screen. So I was pretty happy with how that turned out. So, yeah, the happening was good. Obviously we got in November, we've got, no new content that we know of for any certainty until November. So, but I don't know what the event planning outlook is between now and then. We might get another thing as good as the Yappening. I guess we'll keep our eyes open and see.
Yeah, I got my eye on. Somebody said Plague's Tale too. I got my eye on that. I really like Plague's Tale, the first one, and the second one definitely has my interest. That's actually coming out on Game Pass in a couple weeks, so about 3 weeks, I believe. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, maybe I have to just kind of step back and just maybe enjoy some great television. So
smoke some stogies, drink some Glenlivet.
That's actually not a bad idea. Not PBR. I don't do PBR, but yeah, that's actually a great idea. So, all right, everyone. Thank you again for hanging out with us. Appreciate it as always. May do a Brap rant this weekend, just depending on how busy I am. But yeah, check out DPS Podcast tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Slubbo's channel. And then big shout out to our panel here, our guest Eric Jackson, and then Beat Money and Hamp and Gaming Forte. And we miss you, Slubbo. Hopefully you're not in a ditch drunk somewhere. Hopefully your ankles are okay too. So yeah, we'll catch you all next week on Brap. Good night.
Good night.